In this video, we're going to listen to the different sounds I can get on my ultimate hybrid pedal board. Hey guys, this is Dr. McFarland and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, then welcome. I am a producer, a teacher, and a tone crafter based out of Nashville, Tennessee. And this is a small pedal board I put together based on all the years of buying, selling, trading, different amps, pedals, just gear in general. And I think this is a very good option for anybody who wants to have a digital and an analog type setup. So before we get started, be sure to subscribe down below and click the bell icon to be notified every time I release new content. And let's go ahead and check out the board. So what I've done here is I've taken a Rockboard Trace 3.1 and I did a few measurements and made sure the pieces that I have was going to fit. And lo and behold that it does. I have the L6 from Mission Engineering, which is my expression pedal. And that can control anything from wall, volume, any of the parameters on the HX effects. And it's just a good all-around pedal that I've had for many, many years. Now the HX effects, which I've mentioned in other videos before, is basically my replacement for my full pedal board that had all the pedals, a Boss ES8 switcher, all the power supplies, all the cables that comes along with that. And this was just a no-brainer for what I do here in the studio. And I just needed one unit that could give me a lot of different sounds, and I didn't have to keep going out and buying individual pedals just to get a certain sound. So I'm pretty confident that the HX effects is going to be around for a very long time in my personal arsenal. And I just love the way I can dial in any kind of sound that I want, and everything is just right there at my disposal. Now the amplifier that I'm using on this pedal board is a Quilter Interblock 45. And this is a 45 watt amp inside a pedal size enclosure, which is crazy insane when you think about it. But it actually does sound really, really good. Now, this does have a balanced line out, which the manual says there's supposed to be a cab simulation on there, but I never really thought it sounded that good, nor was it very convincing as a cab emulated out. So what I've ended up doing is using the Bluguitar Blubox, and that gives me 16 different cabs that I can choose from. And let's say I'm recording and I want a different sound. Instead of changing the amp or the pedals itself, I can just go in and tweak the cab. And this one box gives me a lot of different options. So the bottom of the board holds a True Tone CS6, which I'm only using two of those outputs right now. One for the HX effects and the other for the Blubox. And it kind of seems overkill for powering just these two units alone, because the Quilter Interblock 45 has to have its own power supply, and I have that mounted underneath the board as well. But my goal for this board was to be able to use it anywhere in the world, regardless of voltage or the types of power that was needed. And the CS6 from True Tone definitely checks that box of allowing me to plug into any wall socket anywhere in the world and have confidence in knowing that I'm not going to fry my gear because I didn't have a step-down transformer, or I didn't have the right adapter for that certain country that I was playing in. Now, am I going to go out touring anytime soon in Switzerland or over in China somewhere? Well, not exactly right now, but I do have experience touring Europe with my band Feedback Revival, and I powered that whole pedal board at the time with a visual sound one spot, just all using daisy chains, and it worked pretty good. So I was pretty confident that the CS6 was going to allow me to power everything that I needed and do it safely and do it securely underneath the board itself. Alright, so that's enough talking about the actual elements on the board. Let's go ahead and listen to some sounds. And on the Blubox, I do have it set to a black 2x12, so it's just a 2x12 cab. And I'm using a Reverend Jetstream with 3 P90 pickups. Right now it's on the bridge pickup, volume's all the way up, bass contour all the way up. And this is what the clean tone sounds like. Alright, so you heard a little bit of Elephant Man delay. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that off and let's listen one more time. So I'll get to all the effects I'm using here in a minute. But let's talk about the Interblock 45. So I'm a huge fan of one-channel amplifiers because a lot of the times I'm just going to get my dirt and other effects from, you know, either individual stomp boxes or a multi-effect like the HX Effects. So I just don't need tons of channels on an amplifier. I'm perfectly fine just dialing in a good clean sound and then hitting the front end with some dirt, hitting the effects loop with some delay, some reverb, maybe some tremolo. And so that's what I'm doing right now on the Interblock 45. Now I can stand to clean this up a little bit more. So let's turn down the gain and turn up the master volume. And we can see that the little clip light right here is lighting up on the Blubox. I have it set in the middle right now, but if I had a really low volume on the amp, I can flip to the high setting on the Blubox, which will allow me to get the proper gain structure. But if I had too much volume from the amp, I could set it to low so we can accommodate the extra volume that's coming into the Blubox. So I do have the balance line out going into the line in on the Blubox, and then I have a balance mic out going from the Blubox to my PreSonus Studio Live Series 3 mixing board. And I'm recording the guitar and the vocal mic going into Reaper as well. Alright, great. Let's go ahead and go to full Q so you can hear the difference between full Q and vintage mode. And you can see as well, I have the high end up a little bit. Alright, so let's turn on some spring reverb. Alright, so that's a good starting point as far as a clean sound. Now, if I was playing in a blues or a rock kind of gig, I might get away with dialing in a little bit more gain. So let's try that out. Let's have the knob set to where the P and power is. See what that does. And then that way, if I kick in, let's say a T-Maw on the HX Effects, I got two different types of dirt there. I got the dirt coming from the amp itself. Then I got an extra gain stage on top of that being introduced with the T-Maw. Let's go ahead and let's talk about some effects I like using a lot, and that's the Octo and the Auto Volume Echo. So let's go ahead and check this out. And here's a little Elephant Man delay. Alright, so I got my clean sound dialed in, which is still a little dirty. And what's great about the HX effects is you can create pretty much as many different pedalboard setups as you want. So let's say I wanted some metal zone and some tremolo and maybe a phase on one of the presets. And then on this one right here, I got some octo, auto volume, echo, delay, 2 different drives, and a spring reverb. You know, there's just so many different variations that you can have just by going through the different presets that you create and have all the different sounds that you need at your feet. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to change effects on the HX effects. So let's say I go to the auto volume echo here and just tap on the switch. I'm going to push the big knob, hit the arrow button over so I can change to a modulation. And I'm going to go to a optical tremolo. Let's see how fast of a speed we got. Alright, great. And let's go ahead and look at the Blubox for a little bit. Like I said before, I have it currently on the black 2x12. Let's say we go to a silver 112 and see what that sounds like. Alright, here's the Tweed 112. So that's really cool because I can take the sound of the Interblock 45, which to me is kind of like a Fender-y kind of sound anyways. And just by changing the cab type, I can get some different nuances of mid-range and treble and bass response just coming out of the cab itself. So let's go up to a Bull 2x12 and see what that sounds like. Let's go over to a stacked 1970. Alright, you can see that I also have the low end up a little bit on the amp. I can bring that down. So depending on which cab I choose, I can also dial in the EQ on the amp just to further sculpt the sound that I want to hear. So that's a pretty well balanced sound. Let's go to 1971. That is so cool because already I went from a darker sound to a brighter sound just by changing the cab. And that's great. That's what I like doing. Let's bring down the highs a little bit. Alright, also notice that we have a mic position available on the Blubox. So if I have it set to center, it's going to be the brightest it can be. And if I have it set on edge, it'll be the darkest it can be. So let's go back to the other one here that was a little darker. And I was able to brighten it up just by changing the mic position closer to the center versus being closer to the edge. So this is a very versatile rig that I can pretty much take to any stage, any venue, any rehearsal space, any studio, and dial in some great tones pretty quickly and with not a lot of fuss, not a lot of moving around. And as long as I have the presets on HX Effects kind of dialed in the way I like, I can easily just turn on the board, set the gain I like on the amp, set the cab I like on the Blubox, and away I go. So this doesn't mean that you are confined to using a fully digital modeler, because there are other options out there. If you want to use an Iridium or an Amp 1 from Bluguitar, you can easily see that there are great digital and analog options for you to choose from when you're building your boards. And these days, where everyone wants to go smaller and lighter, then having an amp on your board along with some kind of cab sim or IR loader and then some kind of digital effects modeling, you just can't get much better or simpler than this setup right here. Now that's my personal opinion. You know, there are a lot of other options out there, but this is what I've chosen to use at the time being, and I think it's a great little setup. So thanks again for watching. If you haven't done so already, feel free to subscribe down below and click the bell icon so you'll be notified every time I release new content. And go ahead and type a comment down below and let me know what you use on your pedal board as far as amplifier options, maybe cab, IR loaders, and what kind of effects that you're using. And just keep the conversation going. So thanks guys for watching. I'm Dr. McFarland. I will see you in the next video. Keep rocking.